Boker Tov, everybody. Good morning, and thank you to Mordechai and Raya for hosting and broadcasting this year, Monday morning, a new week of learning Pirkei Avot according to the teachings of Chassidut. From now on, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to be learning Pirkei Avot in the morning at 9:15 instead of from 9:30, because we started yesterday the Beit Midrash. Baruch Hashem, the Beit Midrash was a very successful one yesterday, and in order to enable us to be able to start properly at 10 o'clock, so we have a little window of 15 minutes. So we're starting the shiur at 9:15, just 15 minutes earlier, Bezrat Hashem, till around 9:45. So thank you all for joining us, especially as now we begin a new chapter, Perek Bet, chapter 2 of Pirkei Avot. So if you have your Mishna open in front of you, or your siddur right after Mincha of Shabbat, because on Shabbat afternoon we learn the Pirkei Avot, and you can open up to the beginning of Perek Bet. In the first chapter, in Perek Aleph, we started to learn about the importance of we started to learn about passing down the Torah from generation to generation. In the second chapter, we're going to go sort of along those lines a little bit. You'll see a couple of Mishnas in the name of Rabbi Gamliel, in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, in the name of Shammai, but Hillel. But as we get to the middle of chapter 2, you'll see that we'll start learning randomly other Mishnas, and starting from Perek Shlishi, from chapter 3, then we're really going to get into just random Mishnas as far as the Tanaim, the authors of the Mishnah. Let's begin with Mishnah Aleph. Rabbi Omer. Rabbi says. Now Rabbi means rabbi. It doesn't say a name, it just says rabbi. That reminds me of it reminds me of a story that someone once asked someone else about the Rebbe, and someone asked them. The guy answered him, "Which Rebbe are you talking about?" So he said, "There's only one person that's known as the Rebbe, but so that's obviously our Rebbe. But we're talking over here about in the Mishnah, Rebbe Omer. We have a rule that anytime it says Rebbe, it refers to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Yehuda the Prince. He was the one who documented all of the Mishnayot for about a period of 500 years. The Mishnah was learned and taught and passed down in the yeshiva from generation to generation, and that was by heart. Everybody knew all of the Mishnahs by heart, because that's the Mishnah is the foundation of Torah Shabal Peh, the oral Torah, until Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi came along, Rabbi Yehuda the Prince, and he, in consultation with the other leaders of the generation, decided, as it says in the end of the first tractate of Brachot, Eitla Sotla Hashem Heferu Torotecha. Sometimes when there is a need for Hashem, so to speak, when there's a need for accomplishing something major in Judaism, so if most of the rabbis or all of the rabbis, leading rabbis, they all pretty much endorse a certain concept, then we say that you can go ahead with it. So even though the oral Torah is not allowed to be written, nevertheless, in that case, they understood that if they did not write it down, then the Torah may be forgotten, God forbid. And so, thanks to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, that we wrote down the Mishnah, and we have the Mishnah till today. So perhaps this is one of the reasons why Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi is called Rebbe, just generically Rebbe. He is the one who is the leader, and the one who is going to who thanks to him passed down the Torah, and the Mishnah belongs to all of us today. So what does Rebbe say? Rabbi Omer. Rebbe says, Eizohi derech yishara. What is the straight path? Sheyavor lo ha'adam, that a person should choose for themselves? And so he answers, Kol shehi tiferet la'oseh, whatever is beautiful for those that do it, v'tiferet lo min ha'adam, and is beautiful to him from man. The truth is that when you look at this Mishnah at first glance, it seems to be rather general and not so specific, not so clear, if you will. And we're going to try to go in deeper into this Mishnah, but in the meantime, let's stick with the main theme of the Mishnah. So basically, we read, what is the straight path for man? Whatever is beautiful for whoever does it, and beautiful for him from him, meaning Hashem, from the person. Let's move on to the next statement. The Havei Zahir b'mitzvah kala k'vachamura. The person should be careful with a quote-unquote light mitzvah, just as by a stringent mitzvah. So by a mitzvah which is very stringent, we are very careful and extra cautious. Shabbat, purity. These Mishnas, these mitzvahs are very, very severe and very important. So also by a quote-unquote mitzvah, a quote-unquote light mitzvah, we should also be as stringent and not take it lightly. Let's take a little example, not in any way to undermine this mitzvah, but I'll explain why I'm telling you about this mitzvah. It's an example from this week's parsha. The last mitzvah of this week's parsha is the mitzvah of tzitzit, wearing tzitzit. And the Rambam, which in the laws of tzitzit, soon we're going to be in 2 weeks. We're going to be finishing the Rambam, and in 3 weeks we're going to have a major celebration in the Brechata Sultan, which is a huge amphitheater just outside the old city of Jerusalem. And there's going to be, we're going to finish the Rambam for the 40th time. So the Rambam states a very interesting statement about the greatness of the mitzvah of tzitzit. Ordinarily, according to the dry mitzvah, the basic mitzvah of tzitzit, when does the mitzvah apply? The mitzvah applies if a person has a garment of 4 corners. Then you have to put the I think it's called the fringes, the strings, the tzitzit onto the 4 corners. But if a person does not have such a garment, then there's no mitzvah per se to wear to put on a specific garment which has tzitzis to it. Nevertheless, the Rambam states that it is a mitzvah to try your best to look for, to find, to make an effort to find a garment which has 4 corners, and you're able to put tzitzis on these garments. So here you have a mitzvah which you can easily get away with not wearing it. In the summertime, it's extra hot, and there could be many excuses why not to wear this garment. It can get in the way, the strings can get cut, whatever, all these silly excuses. But at the end of the day, if you love mitzvahs, you'll make an effort to find a garment with 4 corners, and it has tzitzit on it, and there's a much greater reward for this mitzvah, because you could have easily gotten away without it. Nevertheless, you made a strong effort, and you made sure to acquire, to purchase this pair of tzitzit, and you made an effort to do this mitzvah. So, one might consider it to be a quote-unquote light mitzvah, a technical mitzvah, but then you can look at, wow, what a special opportunity to wear a pair of tzitzit, which is really, the talit is really the major mitzvah, which wraps yourself around in this unbelievable garment, which according to the Kabbalah represents the makif, the surrounding of a special talit, a special garment. So the Mishnah tells us that you should be careful with a quote-unquote light mitzvah, just like you are careful with a stringent mitzvah. Let's continue in the text. Because you do not know, one does not know the reward of the mitzvot. Who are we to decide which mitzvah is considered a more stringent mitzvah and which mitzvah is considered a quote-unquote lighter mitzvah? Uschar aveira keneged hefseda, and the reward of the sin, in contrast to its loss. So one may say, hey, you know what? This mitzvah doesn't seem to have such a great reward, as if we know all of the different levels of reward that the different mitzvahs have. But we don't realize that if we lose out one mitzvah, wow, God forbid, that can be a great loss. So we should never get involved in the detailed reward of the mitzvahs, especially based on what we learned a couple of times in the Pirkei Avot, and we're going to continue learning about it, that the reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. So it's not like by a child, if you do this, I'll give you a candy. I don't like that reward, giving my kids candies, but let's not talk about that right now. I'll give you a candy. So then the candy, the sweet, is another entity from the mitzvah itself, from the good deed itself. When we talk about the reward, receiving reward for a mitzvah, then the mitzvah itself is the reward. It's a very, very deep concept. The mitzvah itself, connecting to Hashem, is the greatest reward. You don't have to give me something else in order to convince me, in order to tempt me into doing the mitzvah. The fact itself that I'm doing the mitzvah and I'm connecting to Hashem, there is nothing in the world greater than that. And then finally the Mishnah finishes off. Histakel b'shlosha dvarim, look into three objects. Ve'ena tabali de avera, and you will not come to do an avera, to do a sin. The general concept is, da ma lemala mimach, know what is above you. Ayin ra'ah, there is always an eye that sees. Number two, v'ozen shomat, and there is an ear that listens. Number three, v'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nichtavim, and all of your deeds are inscribed in a book. Whatever we do is inscribed in a book. So let's start from the beginning of the Mishnah again, and let's try to go into the deeper Kabbalistic perspective and understanding and interpretation of this Mishnah. Rabbi Omer, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says, Ezohi derech yisharashi avor lahadam, what is the right, the straight path that a person should choose? What kind of question is that? With all due respect to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, what is the right choice? What do you mean? What is the right path? The Torah path. Is there any other, would it occur to you and I that there is another path that a person should choose? I cannot think of another path. As far as I'm concerned, the right path is the path of the Torah. The answer that Rabbi Yehuda gives is even more, I wouldn't call it puzzling, I would call it blurry, unclear. Kol shehi tiferet laoseha, whatever is beautiful for those that do it, v'tiferet lo, and it's beautiful for him, for Hashem, min ha'adam, from man. What is that supposed to mean? Whatever is beautiful, how does that answer the question? The question was, what is the straight path that a person should choose? So what is this quote-unquote beautiful concept, tiferet, for those that do it, and is beautiful to Hashem from man? I'm sorry, I don't seem to be on a simple level, on a basic level. It seems to be a very, very complex statement. And I'm sure he means something, but I'm going to share with you what the Rebbe explains. Let me first remind you what we said a number of times, and we'll continue to remind you what is the underlining theme of Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers. It is not the letter of the law. It is lifnim mishurat hadin, beyond the letter of the law. So we're not just telling you what is the straight path that a person should choose. If you're talking about the letter of the law, obviously, halacha, Torah law, orthodox, halacha, strict, sticking to the letter of the law. That is how that is the path, the straight path that we're supposed to take, that we're supposed to choose. So what is the question over here? The question is beyond the letter of the law. We know already what the letter of the law is. But what is the right choice if a person wants to choose something which is even beyond the letter of the law, which is something unique, something special, something outstanding, something really, really, really special? Okay, that's a good question. What focus should we take? The answer is Kol shehi tiferet lo oseh v'tiferet lo min ha'adam. Whatever is beautiful to those that do it, and is beautiful to him from man. What does that mean? So Rabbi explains as follows. Tiferet, the Talmud says, Tiferet zu matan Torah. Tiferet is the giving of the Torah. Now, it doesn't just mean learning Torah in general. Tiferet lo min ha'adam. What does that mean? What is a special part of the Torah which is considered extra beautiful, which is considered something beyond the letter of the law, something pnimi, something, an inner teaching, an inner beauty that we can connect to and that we could put a focus on? That is learning the subject of Mashiach and redemption. We talk about Malchut. Malchut is the culmination and the prize, the crown of the entire spiritual world of Atzilut, the 10 Sfirot, the 10 luminaries of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, according to the Kabbalah. And so the Hashem's manifestation in this world of Malchut is the kingdom of Mashiach. That Mashiach himself, when Mashiach will come, it will be tikkun olam, it will be perfection of the world. Letaken olam b'malchut shin daled yud. Now we are on the final moments of galut, of exile, and we are yearning for the coming of Mashiach. We cannot continue even one moment, especially over the last month or so, that we've seen terrible casualties and terrible war and attacks on Eretz Yisroel and on Jews around the world. We need Mashiach now more than ever. What can we do? To quote the Mishna that we just learned, the question in the first line of the Mishna. What is this straight path? What can we do to bring an end to this nonsense and terror? Yes, it's nothing else than terror. The answer is, in the final moments of Galut, one of the great ways, one of the great paths that we can choose is Kol Shehi Tiferet La'oseh V'Tiferet Lo Min Ha'adam. Anything which is beautiful to those that do it, and that are beautiful to it from man. What does that mean? Tiferet is beauty. Matan Torah, learning Torah in the subjects of Mashiach and redemption. That is the innermost beauty. Of course, we can learn Torah and other subjects, the Talmud and the Tanya and the Chumash. The Rambam. We're supposed to learn all of the above. But to learn also the subject of Mashiach and redemption is something outstanding. And you can look on our website at JerusalemChabad.org and search the subject of Mashiach and redemption. You will see how much there is available to learn these subjects and to be able to excel and to start getting an insight into a glimpse into the life, living a life of Mashiach, even in the final moments of Galut. Let's continue. The heavy zahir mitzvah kala k'v'chamura. A person should be careful with a light mitzvah, just as in a strict mitzvah. She'ena tayodea matan scharan shel mitzvot, because we do not know the real reward of the mitzvot. The heavy mechashev have said mitzvah keneged schara, and you should calculate the loss of one mitzvah opposite its reward. Uschar aveira keneged hefseda, and the reward of a sin opposite its loss. I want to thank all of you for joining us and remind you, especially those that have just come on board. Thank you, first of all, for coming on board. Even 1 minute of learning Torah is infinite. But starting today, we started learning 15 minutes earlier. Bezrat Hashem, every day from 9:15 till 9:45 approximately, for about 25-30 minutes. The objective is because we just started yesterday a very successful Beit Midrash. And very soon, if yesterday's classes are not up yet on our YouTube channel, they will be very soon. They will be up on our YouTube channel. We're going to have a new playlist called Beit Midrash Rechavia, and you'll be able to search the classes based on Rabbi Silver, Rabbi Weinberg, and the other esteemed rabbis that will be giving shiurim. Yesterday was very successful. We invite everybody to join us Sundays and Tuesdays. Tomorrow morning also 10 to 12. And Bezrat Hashem, we look forward to seeing all of you. So thank you for joining us, and hopefully every morning right here at 9:15, including, I think we're going to keep from the same time throughout the week. Thank you for joining. Tomorrow evening, Tuesday evening, we're going to have a special lecture. Thank you, Safta, for joining us. Just to mention once again that we are starting today. We started at 9:15. From now on, every morning at 9:15. So please join us. Tomorrow evening at 7:30, we're going to have a special lecture with Rabbi Chazan, who is a young rising star. He teaches Torah at the Mayanot Yeshiva, and we look forward to hearing him tomorrow evening in person and online at 7:30 as our monthly lecture in English, the first Tuesday of the secular month. And Rabbi Chazan is the son of the world-renowned speaker, a very inspirational speaker, Rabbi Yossi Chazan from Manchester. So please join us tomorrow evening at 7:30. Thank you so much. Have a great day and a Shavua Tov. All the best.